I feel like I can play for 2 or 3 more years. The World Cup's in 3 years. That's probably a long shot to be included in the squad for that as a 36-year-old. That's probably a little far-fetched, but for me, it's a goal. If I can stay fit, stay competitive, and stay healthy, then there's no reason why I can't be considered for selection. So,
welcome to Future Driven. I'm Adam Kopp, and on this podcast, I talk with entrepreneurs and industry professionals about the challenges and the wins in their business. See the vision, drive the future. Welcome to episode 2 of the Future Driven podcast. I'm super excited today. I got a good friend and colleague here with me today, Sam Windsor from the Houston SaberCats. Sam, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Koppy. Good to see you. It's always nice talking to you, mate. And for you to call me a colleague is special. I know we've done a lot together. So.
Yeah, man. Well, we met a couple years ago when we helped essentially together launch the Houston SaberCats, me on the marketing side and branding, and you on the field. And so has it been three complete seasons with MLR? I mean, obviously I know last year wasn't complete, but
yeah. So we're heading into season 4, and we can't forget that you helped us launch Strikers first, the Houston Strikers. A lot of people still remember the Strikers days. So you had the tough task of creating 2 brands inside about 6 months, I think, and then launching
right.
2 of them. So
it probably been about almost 4 years ago that I came down to Houston. We launched Strikers. So MLR, Major League Rugby, was just coming on. So that would have been 2018. Would have been the first
yeah.
season?
So I moved to Texas in end of May of 2017. So that was very early days in the MLR talks. Not many teams had kind of announced themselves. I think we had 7 teams in year 1 anyway. Made the move down from Seattle with the head coach to be a coach player, and many other jobs that came along with it with the Houston team. So yeah, it feels like forever ago, and there's been a lot of work done since, for sure.
So before we dig into MLR and what's happening today, take us a little bit back to your career. You've been playing professional rugby for a while, not just in the U.S. You're originally from Australia. Give us a quick kind of rundown from when you started playing, minor league professional rugby.
Yeah, so rugby was always going to be a big part of my life. My older brother played, my dad played. So coming out of high school, went into the local professional academy. And, that was a goal as a kid in Canberra to play for the Brumbies, the local professional team. And I chipped away for a couple of years and never really got an opportunity. So went to Sydney for a year, played some club footy, went to London for a couple of years to play rugby with my brother. That was semi-professional type level. Came back to Canberra for another try at cracking into the professional team there to no avail, really. So again, I got an older brother and 2 younger sisters, and we all kind of flew the nest when we could, after we finished high school or college. So traveling was never a problem for us, and it was always, something that enticed us to get over to Europe, and the opportunities for rugby in Europe were greater than what they were in Australia. So I took a couple more opportunities in Dublin and then back to Australia for another short stint before going to Worcester in 2014. End of 2014, they were on the verge of being promoted back to the Premiership. And unfortunately, I got injured in my first game, and that was all I ever did for Worcester, was about 10 minutes on a Monday night. But that's the last time I was ever home. So I went from the West Country of England up to Northern Ireland and signed a 1-year deal at Ulster, which is where I probably got my first proper taste of professional rugby. So I was full-time trainer, senior player, got some game time, but probably not as much as I would have liked or I'd hoped to get. Training as hard as you do and not getting picked is part of sport. But the second year that I re-signed for a second year and thought, okay, this is my year. I'm going to get a proper opportunity, because you only get better with repetitions, right? So if you're not playing the highest level on a regular basis, it's hard to put together any form and get better. So dropping down to play club footy or playing in the A team and then swooping between them both just wasn't convenient for me, and I didn't get any momentum to my career. Whereas guys who I was mates with around me were playing week in, week out, getting better, end up playing international for Ireland or whatnot. So I kind of lost love of the game heading into my second season at Ulster. Was training super hard, was in good shape, but just wasn't getting the minutes on the field that I wanted. And my fiance at the time, Becca, she was in America. We were living, doing the distance relationship, and rugby in America was, growing, and there was a lot of whispers and attempts at pro rugby. So I made an educated gamble, if you like, to make the move from Belfast to America and seek out some rugby out here. So professional rugby wasn't happening. So I played club footy in Seattle for 5 months, and then
Yep.
the Houston opportunity presented itself, and we packed the dog and the car up and drove from Washington to Texas, and we've been here for 3.5 years.
Nice. Well, I will say that, you know, you are living the dream. You know, I know that this isn't the NFL or the NBA or anything like that, but you're getting to play professional sport as an adult, which is really a dream for a lot of kids. And so I think that there's something to be said there. I think that the U.S., you know, prior to kind of what you were talking about, they were knocking on the door with professional rugby. They had a couple attempts. Now this MLR it is the best attempt that we've gotten so far, and each year it seems to be getting better. So let's jump into that a little bit. So now,
yeah,
because rugby in general is constantly growing. You know, we obviously advertise it as the fastest growing sport in the U.S. And so with the MLR and the professionalism that it's bringing, and someone like yourself who has played professional rugby in Europe, now bringing that experience here amongst all the other players that have come on, you know, so now what do you see kind of, you've played 3 years, you've been a part of professional, you know, one of the founding teams. What is the next, you know, couple of years for MLR? You know, what do you think that, you know, how's it going to grow?
It'll grow. I mean, we're never going to, you know, being in a relationship with the ownership group and a lot of the founders of the original teams, it's, you know, they're under no illusion that they're never going to be the NFL, the NBA, and be on that grander scale. And I think to have aspirations and ambition to be that big is fine, and they definitely do. But rugby is a very humble sport, very modest sport, and you know, it's never going to be a multi-billion-dollar organization like some of the other major leagues are. But what attracted to me to coming out to America and Houston, you know, in particular, was to be involved with creating a brand, creating an environment, creating a culture, the way that I thought it should look like and feel like. So from year one in, you know, early days of 2017 to the first season in 2018, up until what we're looking at now, heading into year 4, you know, it's chalk and cheese. It's 2 different complete competitions, you could say, with 13 teams, so almost double the amount. There's more money coming in from different teams, and everyone's kind of got a few years to find out, okay, what sells, what doesn't, you know, where are the markets, where aren't, what looks good on TV, what looks good on the field, what looks good on the players. And it started to attract, you know, high class, top flight international players from Australia, Europe, New Zealand, South Africa, all over the world. And now, you know, coming to America to play professional rugby is almost as common as going to Japan to play professional rugby or whatnot. Yeah. So we're growing at a good pace, and hopefully they can, you know, sustain that growth for another couple of years to bring more people along to the games, bring more people into that inner sanctum of rugby to, you know, realize, okay, it's not football, it's not baseball, you get something completely different, and then fall in love with the game. So, you know, we've struggled as a team. There's no hiding that. And, you know, you have to look at results to see that we haven't been the most successful team on the field. And that has part to do with, I think, is bringing the sport of rugby to a city that, you know, embraces football like a religion. So, yeah, we face many, you know, loads of problems, not just with sort of getting fans on board, but then also organically building a team from nothing. So bringing players from interstate, from overseas, and you got guys who've never been to America before coming to play professional sport, the big bright lights of America. Kind of, in my opinion, distracted us from, you know, our real goal, which was to be professional rugby players and win championships.
One of the things that, you know, Houston did really well is, you know, you built this whole community platform. You know, created a nice deal with the city, built a Viva Stadium, which, you know, you've been a part of from the beginning, and, you know, and that continues to grow and develop. And so I think the foundation, the infrastructure is there. But you're right, the city or the area was missing a rugby-rich culture that you just can't start overnight. And it's
And Houston's, you know, as big as any rugby playing nation in the world. Probably that's probably, you have to look at the numbers, and the population of Houston and Greater Houston is probably greater than any country that plays rugby, you know, across the whole world. So, you know, I was with some people yesterday, and they hadn't heard of the SaberCats before. We've been here for almost 4 years, so you know, we still haven't reached all corners of the city. And Houston's that big that's, you know, that's not a shock to many people because it is so big. But we started at such a fast pace. I think we had to plateau out a little, for a little while to kind of catch up and bring people into positions of marketing, branding, and whatnot to harness the city and harness the sporting culture here in the city and apply it to our brand, which is a little different to other things. So we've gone up and down and round for 3 years, and now we've COVID hit, which obviously threw a spanner in the works. But I think we finally found that niche market and that good connection between fans and staff and players and staff, and creating an environment that appeals to everyone and hopefully has a lot more landing space to grow and get bigger.
Well, rugby is a very exciting sport, and people get attracted to that. It's something different. It challenges people. It can be confusing for people, but it's an entertainment. It's a nice weekend, or not weekend. It's a nice evening out, day out.
Yeah.
A lot of family activities. So, and having attended a whole bunch of SaberCats games, you guys do a great job of that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Sam Windsor himself. You've been, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you've been assistant coach, you've been captain, you've been you've been in the marketing team, you're designing jerseys, you've kind of ran the gamut over there at SaberCats.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to know is your leadership style. What is it? Tell me a little bit about your leadership style. How are you as a leader, and how does that affect your kind of professional business life? Because I think there's a huge advantage for people that have gone through sport, through not only a young person, but then an adult, and that's what rugby provides, is the ability to play competitive sport as an athlete, as an adult. Which is huge, which a lot of sports just kind of end at school. With rugby, you can keep going. And so I take a lot of that rugby experience, if you will, of all the years that I played, and take that into my day-to-day life here at work. And so, tell me a little bit about yourself as well, Matt.
Yeah. So I think I made a few errors when I first came here. So I came from, being a tiny fish in a pretty big pond in Europe, and was never a senior player in a group that probably, my opinion, didn't carry much weight, or it was kind of, you didn't want to be that person to speak up, and it took a while because I wasn't a starter every week and wasn't a known player. It was tough to kind of find my place in the team. So coming here and being more of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, great opportunity to use my leadership skills to affect the results on the weekends. But you mentioned the different roles I had. One of those roles was a coach for the first year and a half, and my competitiveness and my desire to win probably overtook my leadership skills and my role as a coach and a teammate and a leader of the team, because I think I lost a lot of respect of my teammates by the way that I carried myself as a competitive rugby player.
Yeah.
So wanting to win is obviously the goal, for any professional player. Yes, you play for the love of the game, but we play to win, right? It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. And the frustrations that I was facing off the field creeped into my game on the field. So we were losing, and my attitude reflected that. So I'd be cranky, or I'd be, I just wasn't a nice person on the field. Looking back at the time, I just thought I was being competitive and hungry to win, and I thought everyone else was kind of on the same page. But I think in such a young league with people who hadn't probably played or been in environments that I'd been in, they weren't quite up to that level yet. So looking back, my leadership style has definitely changed from year 1 and 2 to even year 3 and 4. And I might not have been a captain of the team on paper, but definitely a senior player in the group. The way I carried myself was going to impact the way we played the game. So I've learned to just kind of relax a little bit for myself and sort of play the game as Sam, not Sam the player, not Sam the coach, or Sam the administrator, or Sam the whatever it might be. And that probably helped my game, and probably helped my relationships with the players around me heaps. But it's still, the problem I see we face here is everyone's on different pages, and we need to get everyone on that same page. So there's that understanding of the group of their common goal. And yes, that common goal is to win a championship, but it's understanding those mini goals in between is how do we get there? Okay, how do we execute this play? Why are we executing this play? We're doing it this way so that we can get to here to score points to then win the game. We might be 90 meters out. We don't need to throw 3 miracle passes to then try and score a try. We need to just trust our processes, trust the structures, trust our training, trust the coaches who are in their sole role as a coach, right? I'm now a player, which is great. So it's their job to coach us. It's our job to play. And if you don't understand it, ask questions. If you don't know why you're doing it, ask why. And if no one will answer that question, go find someone who will, or do more work yourself to look at tape, to look at footage, to work out what you do best. And whatever that is that you do best, how is that going to contribute to the team to put us in winning positions? So we got 5 games into last year, and I think we were finally sort of turning that corner and understanding that. And then the season got shut down. So I'm hoping, with the same coaches in place, a lot of the same players involved, adding a few new players to the squad, short runway of preseason, we can really nail down some of the smaller points of rugby that probably get overlooked. Yes, you might be big, fast, strong, but whatnot. But if you can't play as a team and you don't understand the way the team wants to play, then you're not going to have any success. And in my opinion, that relates to all facets of the world and life. And I came to Houston probably aspiring to be a coach when I finished playing, but having kind of had a bad experience of coaching, still love it and still feel I offer a lot as a coach and whatnot, but have started to work behind the scenes and in the front office a little bit more. I've kind of seen the value of leadership off the field and from a hierarchy of presidents and GMs and whatnot, and how that filters down to then affect a team to probably have more value. I would have more value in that role in a country that kind of lacks a lot of experience at professional rugby. This year we're getting better at introducing a lot of people to America from Australia and whatnot in positions of power to kind of impact that side of the game. So those experiences I had as a non-senior player and no real leadership qualities to what I had in the last 3 years have kind of helped shape my vision as a sportsman and a sports businessman at the same time.
Nice. Well, I'll say that player coach is probably one of the hardest positions because like you just talked about, it's hard to connect with the players. It's hard to be a coach. And when you're in the heat of the game and with rugby, a little bit different, there's not like coaches on the sidelines. So there's, everybody thinks there's an advantage to having like a coach at a number 10, but there's can be, that's why you have captains. That's why you have these people in place, and there you have game plans and trainings and stuff. So,
and the one benefit and one thing I'm grateful for being a player coach was for that first couple of years is, you have to lead by example, whether a coach or a player. So being both of those in a position of power, like fly half, number 10 is, I had to hold myself accountable and to standards that I expected my teammates around me to.
Yeah.
So I might not do all the training that they do because I might be coaching a session. So on the game day and on the field, if I made the mistakes that I would yell at them for at training, it makes me look like an idiot and devalues my coaching points or my position. So, I think I played quite well for those first 2 years, despite the dual role, because of the fact that if I didn't do what I was telling them to do, then I look like an idiot and, completely devalue anything that I say to them. So that was a benefit for me, and it kind of held me kept me in good stead to make sure I was performing at a high level. But again, as a leader, as just a leader and a player in a position of leadership as a player, those things should be the same and should hold those standards the same way.
Well, you've ever since I've known you, you've always have high standards. You have a high work ethic, and it shows on the field, off the field. And so, I look forward to kind of seeing what is next for Sam Windsor post rugby playing career. I know you still got some life in those legs, but once before we kind of leave that, so there's a potential of some USA rugby playing game for you. Is that kind of obviously COVID is the
pinnacle for any rugby player is to play for. Yeah, no, it's still definitely a possibility for me. And there was obviously meant to be test matches this year. There was meant to be a US men's camp happening at the moment, which has obviously been postponed or cancelled. Probably a little far-fetched, but for me, it's a goal. If I can stay fit, stay competitive, and stay healthy, then there's no reason why I can't be considered for selection. So having been in America for the 36 months to satisfy the residency rules, I think I can add value not just to the SaberCats and the MLR, but also to USA Rugby and help them keep growing the way they are, and try and become that tier 1 nation that they aspire to be.
Yeah. Well, that would be awesome.
It'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great for me. It would kind of complete my career, right? If I could, pardon me, finish up playing at that highest level. And we're all the same. We don't want to be told to stop playing. You want to finish on your own terms, and that'd be the icing on the cake for me. And it'd be good fun.
Well, I think we just made the prediction right here on the Future Driven podcast that Sam Windsor is going to put another 3 hard, strong years in and give it his go for give it his best for that last.
Yeah, and then the younger, more athletic and faster and better looking people coming along just makes you want to play better, right? Like that's the thing that spurs me on, is I don't want to be outdone by a 19-year-old. I want to prove that at 33 I can still ball with the best of them.
Rugby experience is so valuable.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, that is the difference between the game. I think with the sport is that there's an experience level that and so what you're probably battling is there are some guys that have experience that might that are a couple of years younger, so it might not be someone straight out of college, but but either way, we're gonna make it happen, and I look forward. So we'll talk about that on episode 150.
Yeah, good. Thank you. It'd be good
on that. Okay, so let's talk post career. So what is you had mentioned a couple ideas with GM, which I haven't heard that from you. I think that'd be kind of cool. But we had talked about broadcasting, which I think you got a natural knack for. So kind of where do you see yourself in the rugby world?
So I think the last this whole COVID time frame has given everyone a chance to reflect and kind of reassess where they're at, and it's been no different for me. And I would have been loved to have been playing rugby and training full time, but it hasn't been the case. So as I mentioned, going from probably what looked like a coaching career after I finished playing to now what might be something more administration, business type, is somewhere I think I can add more value than what I would as a coach. And looking at the way a coach's family social lives run, it's not too different from a playing life. So you're away from family a lot. It's late nights. It's away trips on the weekend. So I want to have a family, and my wife and I want to have a family. And I think the best way to do that and to be around more often is to have a position. No, I don't want to be in an office every day, but with sport and sports business, you get the opportunity to maybe be outside the office, regularly as well. So, with the growing league and my experience and being here from year one, I think I do offer something to, say whether it's SaberCats, whether it's a league, whether it's, another team in America, the benefit of, a professional player, my opinion, my ideas, my experiences to help attract more players to the game, help attract more sponsors, more money, broadcasters, whatever it might be, so people can understand how rugby is different, why it's different, and ultimately why it's more entertaining and more engaging and more appealing to what should be a greater mass of people. So that's probably the way I'm going at the moment. I still have a passion for coffee and streetwear and sneakers and things like that. So they're always going to be a hobby of mine, and a passion. So, the lifelong dream is to move back to Australia in a nice coastal town and have a coffee shop, cafe somewhere where, wake up in the morning, go for a surf, come back in, serve some bacon and egg rolls and a flat white. That's paradise in my opinion. So now is the time, I guess, to build those foundations to set myself up for that goal, whenever it might be, or that life, whenever it might be. So I mean, for me now, it's trying to build my brand, and also gain experience, in other areas. So working closely with JT here at the SaberCats and the coaches and the owners, and working through recruitment and immigration and branding and kit and all those things, I think are just adding some, strings to my bow, if you like, to then put me in a position. It might not be rugby. I'd love to experience another sport in America at a business level and gain some experience, whether it's minor league baseball, MLS, basketball, soccer, football. This is the place to do it, and this country is the place to do it. And then, like what would happen here is I would take those skills I get in America and take it back to Australia, which is a much smaller sporting landscape and a different market, and see how it transfers and whether there's any value to it.
Well, we've, couple years ago when we were collaborating on sponsorships
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the branding. You were a big part
Yeah.
of that, and what I enjoyed that process because you got to bring some validity to the process. It wasn't just an outside agency developing
Yeah.
something. It was something we were connecting with the players, and coaches, and really making sure that it resembled who the organization was, and so that's a nice bridge that you bring. So I can see you doing that post career for sure, because you can bring that life on the field, which no one can replace that. You can't make that up,
No.
and then bring that to to an office. So I
And
think
and I think that's rugby kind of encapsulates that as a we're proud players, we're proud sportsmen, so we don't want to put something out that we're not proud of. We're obviously very passionate about the game, so I'm passionate about what goes out on social media, what we're telling our advertisers, and what we can offer sponsors. And if it's not something that I would put money into, then why would I try and sell it to someone? And as a player who's played around the world, I'm confident that I know what that looks like, and I'm ultimately going to be the one who's going to present that and be responsible for bringing it to life as a player on the field at the moment. So bringing a lot of those players along with me, and it's tough with a split season and players leaving for half the year to really get out and get amongst sponsors and whatnot to kind of grow that brand and grow the message that we're trying to get across. But I've really enjoyed that part of it, and being the member of the team on and off the field to kind of just carry the flag of the SaberCats around the city and trying to say, hey, listen, come along to a game, come check it out. Want to be a season ticket holder? Would you be interested in sponsoring the team? And as you say, kind of validating that spend or that involvement by just sort of being there as in person and doing my thing.
Love it. Sam, thanks so much, man, for being on the podcast and breaking down a little bit. I like this because this is only episode 2, but both times I learned new things that I didn't know. We talk all the time, but I definitely knew that vision of what you have in the far future with the surf, breakfast, and the flat white. I look forward to visiting you down at your shop. So
I know if you and the family come to Australia, mate, Washington might not get a family back. So the sooner you come down, the sooner you can stay and live that dream life too, which I know you guys want.
It's been, my wife and I met in Australia. It's been 20 years, I think now, this year that we met. And so we definitely talk about going back.
Yep.
I know your shop probably won't be right there on Bondi, but it'll be close.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, somewhere in New South Wales, I think for sure would be nice, but maybe further north towards Byron Bay, or that's the God's country for sure up there.
That'd be nice. Well, we should definitely collaborate and figure out how to do that together.
I'll need some branding, so I'll know where I'm coming for sure.
That's right. Sam, thanks so much, man, for being on the Future Driven Podcast, episode 2. And thanks so much, brother. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Koppy. Talk soon, mate. Cheers.